how tyranny is pressuring us to do things that we don't want to do and what you can do about it, some viable solutions. If you have been following the corona pandemic, if you have lived the corona pandemic in certain countries, you're well aware of the fact that some governments made it hell for us during this time. If we take a look at Australia, a country that had forbidden its citizens to leave and enter the country during certain periods of the pandemic, and you sit back and you ask yourself, what would have happened if those people would have had a plan B, if those people would have had second residency, second citizenship? The answer is that many of those people would have been able to leave on time and hopefully spent the most difficult time that we have experienced so far in a much, much nicer and more liberal place, a much freer place. Many people didn't have a plan B. The same also holds true for people from Asian countries. I personally know friends in Vietnam that were blocked into an apartment building for weeks without being able to leave the apartment building. They were not able to get food. They were not able to get water. At some point, they allowed food delivery. The lucky people were the people who managed to get their fridges loaded before the madness started. These are just two examples of what happened during the corona pandemic, and it affected millions of people across the globe. It was truly a horrible time. How do you protect yourself against central bank digital currencies? This is a brand new theory that we have already talked about in this channel a long time ago, but it is becoming more and more reality as governments are working super hard to come up with beta versions of this CBDC, of this central bank digital currency. The question is, what can you do about it? And the answer is global diversification is the key. We don't know to what extent governments will implement the CBDC because some governments might want more control than others. Some governments might want to use central bank digital currencies as a control mechanism to oversee your financial transactions. And it might even go as far as them telling you what you can spend your money on and what not. Don't let this happen to you. The answer is, again, global diversification, more residence permits, a plan B, setting yourself up in a different country, having a plan in case poo-poo hits the fan, which might happen in certain countries. So many people talk negatively about Texas, the taxes are too high, but Texas is one of the only geographic locations on this entire planet that opposes central bank digital currencies. In fact, our Senator Ted Cruz, he proposed a bill to ban central bank digital currencies from being used inside this very state. Isn't that what you would like to see happening in the entire world? Instead of bashing Texas for some of its other policies, I think people should start applauding Texas for the things that the state is doing right. Wokeism, a topic that so many of our competitors don't like to describe in detail. Wokeism is something that is becoming increasingly problematic, especially for parents wanting the best for their children. Now, as a parent, you can choose the gender of your child on the birth certificate. An option is to choose a neutral gender. Parents are worried about their kids being confused about their gender. This is something that we shouldn't even have to discuss. You might also be worried about the education your children receive at public school. You want to control the information that your kids absorb, not let the government decide what information your children get to hear. Of course, wokeism goes much deeper and broader than this, but I just wanted to throw out an example that affects so many parents in today's world. People are also moving because of inflation. Inflation has skyrocketed in recent years. Yes, it is coming down in the year of 2023. Some countries have seen insane inflation rates. Argentina's inflation rate soared to 95% in 2022. Turkey's inflation rate reached 64% in 2022. The EU's inflation rate measured 9.2% in 2022. Of course, that's the average of all countries combined that are part of the European Union. Of course, people move for inflation. Who wouldn't want to spend less on housing? Who wouldn't want to go out and have a cheaper meal? Who wouldn't want to have more quality of life? We all want that. Perhaps you're worried about the war in Ukraine escalating to the point we don't even want to talk about. If that's the case, then a second residency wouldn't be a bad thing to have in your back pocket. I want to talk a little bit more about the solution. I have personally vetted several countries that I believe to be interesting for people who want to settle down, who want to migrate, who want to establish permanent residency in a country. And in order to have permanent residency in a country, it is super important that that country offers you reciprocity in civil and property rights. That's why we recommend countries with a proven track record of liberty. Why would we recommend countries that do not have the data, that do not have the track record for you to migrate to their countries? I wanted to make a very powerful distinction here. We at Nomad Elite, we do not financially profile people. No matter how big or small your net worth might be, we're going to charge you exactly the same amount as everyone else pays. We don't just work with 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs like other companies do. We also work with 6-figure per year entrepreneurs. Some of the countries that we recommend are Paraguay, Mexico, Spain, Portugal, Italy, Bulgaria, and Romania. If you need help with obtaining a second residence permit, second passport, or purchasing real estate abroad, feel free to reach out to us.